some mess like 4-1 or 3-1 or something.
finally, we'll have a few photographers in the room tonight. So if we'll use the photos later on for promotional purposes. But if anybody's uncomfortable having their image used, we will not use your image. If anybody else wants to let me know by raising your hand, or let me know after if you. Yeah. So I'll remember you. Great. Well, then with no further ado, we have Tommy and Alexei from. Are you both from Canada?
Yes. Canada. Yes.
Canada.
Yes.
Okay. Here tonight to talk about funding.
Yeah.
Welcome and thank you.
First fundraising and then about business development.
Okay.
So let's start with this more boring issue.
that's my part. So we're gonna go through some of the stuff from a finance perspective today about angels and VCs, cap tables, shareholders agreements. But we're gonna do it a little bit more of a story mode. We're gonna tell you a little bit more of our trip that we did in Spain for almost 3 years, and we still work basically mainly in Spain. And we do stuff in Malaysia, Singapore, we do Mexico, United States. So we've been doing a lot of stuff for different years. And one thing has been very, very common throughout the years is that we've been in serious financial distress many times. And we managed to save our company in the last second, and with enormous luck also, and hopefully some skills. And so we're going to tell you persistence, yeah. So we're going to tell you the unfiltered story of how we have fucked up and came back and survived and evolved throughout the years. So we'll go through these things, and I'm going to tell you who I am, and Alex will tell you who he is. I'm Tony. I'm originally from Sweden, Stockholm. I'm living in Finland for 10 years now, and people ask me why. I don't know. I came for the chicks. Anyway, so I'm a graduate from Stockholm School of Economics. So I have a major in finance. I graduated in 2006, and I started working for investment banks. I worked for JP Morgan for 6 years. Doing all sorts of boring corporate bullshit stuff, reporting to London and Frankfurt, wearing a suit, and being all business guy. So in 2007 I moved to Finland and worked here with real estate fund management. And in 2012, me and Alexei started working in the startup community, and we have founded several companies, raised a couple million euros from basically everyone you can ask money for, even cousins and family and the government. So we've been everywhere. We've done it over 10 times, approximately from 30,000 to almost 1 million. So yeah, our experience from that is very big in a short amount of time, I would say, modestly. So basically my background is financing and sales and talking shit to people and convince them to buy my product. And Alexei does the same, but he has a little bit difference in background.
Again, the main thing being like talking shit and trying to find something that is interesting for the end customers and for the investors. My background is from marketing and design. So I've been working at advertising agencies, being of course in Finland, in the States, in Germany and Switzerland since '94. So basically from '94 to 2012 I was working in advertising, marketing and design. So from that experience I'd say that my thing is more about kind of understanding the business and the consumer and the relationship between there, how to find kind of something, how to kind of build something or communicate about something that you have, will it be a product or a service to a certain group of people or companies. So kind of find common interest there and communicate it clearly. So kind of what's in it for me is the end question from the one who pays the bill or uses the product or service. So in short, that's my background.
Yeah, and together we become this yin-yang of madness, and we're going to tell you in the next session how this is intertwined with what we've been doing, because in 2015 we came to Madrid for the first time, and all of a sudden we started working with a lot of teams in Spain and all these kind of things. But this is kind of the background, what is happening in the background. This is us from our last round that we closed in July in 2017, just a couple of months ago. We closed a 650,000 euro financing round, and the biggest investor was Jari Ovaskainen, who is the most successful business angel in Finland. He's also European Business Angel of the Year 2014, and he was the first investor in Supercell, who made cash on cans. So only on that investment, he made, I don't know, a couple of $100 million. And before that, he was an entrepreneur, and he sold his first company to Telefonica, actually in 2001, EOBox, and he made a fortune on that too. He's also the biggest owner of Next Games, who is doing games for what's it called? Walking Dead. Walking Dead. So these guys, very rich, and these guys are very poor.
Yeah. But the connection there is that we talk shit and we make our offering really clear and kind of wantable for investors and the end customers. So I'd say hope this gives us some validity on what the fuck are we talking. This guy has some serious cash in his pockets, but he's not throwing it out like insanely to everybody. Other investors tell him or have given him a nickname Goldfinger. So that's kind of how they see him.
And this relates to the companies and the financing companies. You have basically two options. Either you get financing from the paying customers. They will pay your bills. So you ask, buy my product and you get money, then you can fund your business. And if you can do that, I mean, awesome. But few companies can do that. The other option to get funding or financing I would say is the right word, is to ask investors to invest in your company. And this is where it gets even more complicated. Getting someone to buy your product is basically the same sales process as getting someone to invest in your company. You ask people for money. So let's start with when you have friends and family. This is me begging my friends for money. So the first thing you do when you start a startup usually is that, well, if you're rich, then you don't need financing. But if you're poor or don't have that much money to spend, fundraising and financing will be a very, very big part of your business.
And that will be kind of the everyday life of a startup. Even after we close the funding, the next phase, like after a month, was kind of, okay, let's look for another round of funding.
Yeah. So when you do these rounds, just a side note, usually if you don't like stress, startup life is not for you because the uncertainty you have to deal with is enormous. First of all, when you enter and have a product and start looking for financing, even when you get the financing, your investors will make sure you only have probably 6 or 9 months of money. So once you get the money, you're like, here is where I'm bankrupt again, unless I manage to do something here. So you always have these 6 to 9 months of cash, and you have to learn to survive with that money. But you have an idea, you have probably maybe a product or something. So usually people don't know the business angel scene, they don't know the venture capital scene. So they think, okay, who should I ask for money? Well, I'm gonna go to my dad or go to my other friends who have money and tell them to invest in my company. That's why they call it friends and family.
And fools.
And fools,
3 years.
Yeah, 3 years. I don't know, do you have any experience of friends and family and fools?
Yeah, well, in our case, usually it's a combination of all of those.
They're all fools.
Basically, like before the last round was closed, we went really deep. So that meant like I had to loan the last money from my mother, for example, and of course credit cards and all the savings that I have made through the almost 20 years of my marketing career. That is pretty well paid usually, like that one time. So yeah, we have always, not always, but many times we have had to rely on these 3 Fs at least until some.
Yeah, so actually what he said about his mom, that happened in that happened in May this year. We had a business meeting set up with AMC, who do Walking Dead in New York. And we had a lot of meetings set up there, and we were still waiting for Mr. Goldfinger's money because we were negotiating with him. And so we didn't have any money in the account, so Alexi asked his mom for 3,000 euros so we could fly to New York to make deals with American companies. So that actually happens. You actually do borrow money. And our first company in 2012, I actually got my cousin, who is an executive in GlaxoSmithKline, to invest. And it's hard to have someone actually owning piece of your company who is related, because when he calls, you don't know if it's like, how are you doing, or where the fuck is my money? So it's like, red button. So, but he's been an investor now for several years, and he's okay because he's been like around all the time. So when he calls, we just laugh nowadays. He's like, wow, I already lost my money. That's how he does. But he hasn't lost his money yet. We're still alive. So yeah, so usually you go to your friends and family. That's a good option, but it always comes with a price. I wouldn't do it again. I would really try to avoid, especially from friends. Family is still fine. They might forgive you, but friends might not forgive you for wasting their money. So that's kind of the first option. Usually people do. Then this is the second step when you start fundraising. And actually the correct word for VC is demons, sharks, vultures, animals, because everybody hates VCs mostly. Nobody likes them. Sorry if there's any VCs here. We have VC investors. They are all, of course, very nice. But yeah, so the next step is to actually start talking to business angels. And business angels are usually people with, like former business people with money. They are not companies, they don't have employees, they're the single like people who invest in startups.
And they invest their own money.
Yeah, exactly. So they're a little bit more sensitive about, you, because it's from their pockets. Usually every country has a business angel scene, as do Finland. We have several different organizations for business angels. We have, for example, FIBAN, which is the Finnish Industry of Business Angels Network or something like that, Finnish Business Angels Network. And then we have several others. And they have events going on. You can meet them in Slush if you're lucky. And those are the guys that you can get, let's say, between 10 to 50,000 usually to your company, but not more than that. They're usually very low amounts you can get from these guys, unless it's guys like the guy we showed, Jari Oaskainen.
And the thing with these angel investors is that I'd say that it's kind of as a guy going to a bar, if you're single, and trying to find a chick. Because the thing is that, or a girlfriend. Because the thing is that as they are investing their own money, they want to know you better. They don't just want to be, okay, you look nice, let's go. It's kind of build a relationship with these people, as they are people. Even if they are called angels, they are still people. So you need to build this relationship with these people. So whether or not you are looking for angel investors, I suggest you really go to these events. Meet people, just mingle, be a good guy, be a good person there, and really meet people. It's all about relationship with people. Everything is people business. Everything. You are not dealing with artificial intelligence and looking for bitcoins from Siri or whatever. So you are still going to people to ask for investment. So meet the people, build the relationship up front. So when you need the money, you already know, okay, this person or this guy is investing in this kind of business that we are in. Maybe we should go for a coffee or lunch or beer or whatever.
Yeah. And they're usually very honest with you. They usually tell you from the start. it's really, really hard to convince people. So many times, you know, compared to your situation, they are not in a hurry. They're like, I'm gonna be around for 3 months, but I'm not sure this company will. So you will always be in more hurry than these guys. They have no interest in moving things forward. They want to wait. They want to wait until you get more business, maybe, so their investment becomes safer. Or it will be the other way around. There's also something we deal with later, which is called the fear of missing out, and we'll come into that. That's also an important strategy of fundraising. But then you come to the VCs, which is happening usually a lot later in your fundraising strategy. So VCs, venture capitalists, basically big funds with shitloads of money, and they're not their own money. They're investing other people's money mostly, but they're being very strict. And VCs usually come into companies when you're doing quite well already. So you have customers, you have a product, you already launched it, you're already making money. You're making money. So what the VCs do is basically they take your business model, then they run it through their Excels, and they're like, okay, how much money can this investment make? Okay, it can make 100 million. Okay, we will invest. So they're really, really more mathematical kind of approach to stuff, and you're not getting the venture capitalists in the first. So it's totally unnecessary to talk to them unless you just want to build relations, but they're not going to invest in your company. So beware.
I'd say it's kind of these angel investors are the right side of your brain, and they are more kind of in relation to emotions and how these people are, and can I trust this team, and how does this feel? And these venture capitalists, they are the left side of the brain. They are really rational, mathematical, and really kind of, does this make sense from Excel point of view? I don't care about emotions. That's it.
Yeah. So they're more like metrics. How good is your product performing? How much money are you making per customer? You know, what markets are you in? Who's your clients? Are they big? Are they small? Are they going to buy your product again? You know, these kind of stuff they ask. So when you're at that point, you probably are doing fairly well, to be honest, if you get to the VC phase. So those are the two kinds of stuff in the fundraising perspective that's happening at some point in your lifetime, probably.
Sorry.
Yeah.
What is the media candidate?
No,
what
sure.
is the definition of
Venture capital.
venture?
Yeah.
And also here lays another structures and another kind of vessels of investment. Like, of course, you have crowdfunding, you have all kind of TechS things and ELY things, and there's different kind of organizations and whatever that can help you in financing. But that's kind of these are things that I wouldn't go deeply into because they are really specific. And to be honest, for example, crowdfunding, we have never gone to crowdfunding for certain reasons. And that's
you have a note on that, actually. Like, this is purely like my point of view, and probably Alex's too. But like, how we see crowdfunding is that's kind of, you know, when you ask for small investments, like, I don't know, Kickstarter is one example, and Investor is one. And for me, going to crowdfunding is kind of like, we're about to fail. It's kind of a last resort. It's like, shit, no real investor wants to invest in us. No venture capital wants to invest in us, which both signal quality. But these random people on the street who have no business idea might want to give me $10. It's like, well.
But also, that's not only the only perspective. Then you can also look at that from different perspective. And for example, from PR perspective.
Yeah.
And kind of testing out your product. And using those metrics for the angel investors or venture capitalists. Kind of, okay, we made this thing in Kickstarter and we presented our product that is non-existing. We used these 3D models or videos or whatever to present to these people that, hey, we want to build this, would you like to buy it? And then we have these kind of metrics to show, yes, there is demand for this. And using those metrics to go to angel investors, for example. So you can use these methods for different things also, just to kind of help you understand, like, is there a business for what I'm offering?
Exactly. And then we come. Yeah.
You just mentioned about the rounds, you keep going, like you can get the first round, the second round. Does that mean every time you go maybe to an angel investor, they ask for equity, and then the next round again, the new investor asks for equity?
Yes.
So at the end of the day, what percentage can you remember if everyone keeps asking for that?
Yeah, that's we're coming to that.
We're coming to the capital. Well, I can give you an example of ownership. King Games, I think they're the Candy Crush Saga. The founders, as I read last time, the founder had 5% left, but he was a billionaire at exit. So once you have, if you played smart and you have big enough product, even if you have just percentages left,
everything is relative. Like 100% of 0 is not much. 1% of 10 billion is okay.
So yeah, the stakes go down all the time. The good thing with the Nordics, if you look at only the percentages you have, is that our investors are pretty nice here. They don't eat your company. If you look at Shark Tank and these shows, they're horrible.
Yeah.
They're like, I want 50%, and you're like, Jesus Christ, I'm losing my company in my first financing round. So when it comes to the equity stuff in Finland, just to give an example of what happens in the rounds, is let's take an example, our first round. We're going to come to that again, but just a quick note on that one. First round, we lost 20% of the equity to inside investors, but we got money. So good. Next time, you lose additional 25%. And usually the dilution that it's called, how much you lose every time, is approximately between 10 to 25%, like every time. So if you have, I don't know, 10% after like Series B, which is like very, very far forward, you have a lot of money already back then. But yeah, you're gonna lose 20% maybe all the time in different rounds. So the one thing, sorry.
Just a few minutes ago, I have almost the same question that she asked. But now I want to know if among those investors, if you are targeting in your business, you are targeting Africa or a country in Africa, do you have a chance to get something from there?
Yeah. I mean, if the good thing with capitalism is that it's colorblind. It doesn't care about your gender. It only cares about the money you can make. So capitalism is kind of the optimal.
They are not like we found this for people living in Finland or something.
They don't care. They say, can I get rich? Let's do it.
But also there's like in every investor, there's kind of something that they are specialized in or interested in. It might be that this investor wants to invest in something that's related to technology or artificial intelligence, and this investor wants to have something that's on biotech, for example, or whatever. And then some investors have more experience in certain markets, and because the best thing about when you have a good investor, it's not about the money, it's about the added value that they can bring to the company. So especially connections. For example, for us, one of our investors is or two actually at the moment, is investing in Next Games, and AMC is the company is producing, sorry, Walking Dead, is producing Walking Dead. So we got immediate contact to these guys and went to meet them in New York. So it was not all about money, it was about connections. Also, some people have more expertise in certain markets. For example, Latin America. Okay, in Latin America, the business is done totally different than in Sweden or Norway or Finland or whatever. So there's just certain customs and manners and cultural differences in certain markets that it's good to understand and know before you go there. For example, when we went to Spain, we were like, okay, we didn't have any idea how things work there. But then we traveled a lot there.
Except Galicia. That's the only place we haven't been.
We had a apartment there. We got some consultants to help us to understand more about the market and so on. So we dug deep there and learned maybe sometimes the hard way. But anyway, it's not about only about money for the investors. It's about their expertise and their interest also.
But yeah, so even if it's Africa or whatever it is, if you have a solid business proposal, it's irrelevant. They care about money.
By the way, which type of business are you doing?
That's the next session.
That's the next session.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to give you all what happened in the background, and then we're going to give you like what we fucking do. And you're like, how did these guys get the money?
And for what?
Yeah.
And so in the next session we're talking about business development. And there we're using again our own product, kind of overall picture of the business development and using the story of our product and what we're doing to make it really clear and concrete.
Yeah. So coming back to like what the investors look at, so for them, the team. We were surprised when we started in 2012 meeting with business angels and these kind of people, and we showed them like, here is our business plan and this is what we're going to do, and they were like, oh, next. And we're like, what? Why don't they listen to what we say? Because they know that your plan is going to change like a million times. So they're like, okay, is this a team? Are these people some people that can make things happen? Do they have drive? Are they going to make the value for money I've invested? That's what they look at.
Yeah, and they are looking also about, okay, they will be get knocked down several times. Will they get up? Will they just like weep there in the ground, like, okay, this is like I have a good product and plan, but people don't like it, they're stupid. Like, no, you need to have a team that has the passion, and it needs to show that you have the passion. And they have the persistence to go through all the walls that are there. There will be challenges, there will be a lot of challenges, but you just like, you look them as not problems, but challenges. You encounter a challenge, okay, this wall is pretty solid. How do we get through that? And it's just like persistence, persistence, persistence.
So they look at that, and they look at how dedicated you are. I mean, when you go and ask a business angel for money, you can forget telling him that you work extra somewhere else. He's going to be like, excuse me, you got to work 100% for this company. And then if you're alone, these are things that come up in the Shark Tank all the time. They're going to be like, really, are you alone? So am I going to put all my money into you and you get hit by a bus and I lose my money? Like, I don't think so. So, like they say, diversify, diversify. So it's good if you're two at least. So then when you make money, the other one is in front of the bus. No, that's horrible.
Unless you have a good shareholders agreement.
Yeah. So so that's one good thing to know also. Rather have a co-founder with you, or if not, most people will always ask for a CTO, somebody who, if you do tech, that said, you might do other products, but if you do tech, CTO is really important. For us, it was a little bit of a unique situation in terms of team, is because when we have done several products, so the story is for, I think, at least 3 different products we have done. We did digital products, consumer products, and they needed coders, developers. And you don't know coding.
Well,
I have no idea about coding.
the last time I coded, it was probably like 84 with 1080. 1984 with Commodore 64, like Simon's basically. Probably nobody ever heard about that, but that's kind of my coding expertise. So we were, here's this technological company that we're building, but
We don't know tech.
yeah.
So they're basically, we managed to raise money, luckily, but from our perspective, they were looking at it more of like, okay, these guys can probably sell. So that means they can probably attract talent to work for them. So let's give them some money and see what happens. And so for us, the team was more of like the experience I had from like banking and like investments, and Alex's background from marketing and design. So that was good enough for those investors. That's very uncommon, I would say, that you have a team that does technology that basically don't know how to create the technology. So in Finland, I feel at least that most of the startups have very technical kind of people involved, while we have total opposite. What we are doing is that we're just selling to everyone, and then we go to our developers and say, guys, we just came back from Spain. We promised, Atlas Media these kind of things. Please do it. And then they code it. Fortunately, it worked so far. We still do it actually. So we were lucky in that sense, but team is number one for them. And it never becomes more than number three. Because if you have a product that somebody can copy, they will think, okay, is this team good enough to constantly be running fast, constantly developing better than their competitors? Because at some point there's going to be competition.
Or if there's no competition, then you don't have a business.
Yeah, many people, just exactly what Alexis said, like
Competition inside the team or
no, outside. Yeah, because sometimes people say there are no competitors in this market. So, well, from an investment perspective, that means either there is no competitors there because there is no business there, or the other one is that there is competition, which means that okay, there is business. Yeah, but a lot of people are scared that shit. There is competition. Well, it's gonna be.
There's also this really unique situation that okay, there is no competitors, but there is business. That meaning that you are doing something using, for example, technology that did not exist before. So now you are combining something and creating something that was not just technically possible in earlier days.
Yeah. Yeah, so there was a Swedish company called Glue.com in the late 90s and early 2000s during the first internet bubble, who were doing, basically they wanted to sell shoes on the internet. And they raised, there's good books about these guys, they're totally crazy Swedish people, and they managed to raise billions from Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy, this LMB company. They work with IBM. They managed to get the biggest lawyers in the world to work with them, and they just scammed everyone basically. But they got a lot of money, and then they built the platform. But that was like 99, 2000, 2001. The internet was super slow, and they had all these kind of rotating. You can watch the shoes and stuff. So they had the idea to do it, but the tech didn't work. Yeah. So now, well, Amazon. It's kind of working. So the timing was wrong for these guys, but so yeah, team is very, very crucial. So team basically what we say here is a team can compensate for a bad product, or a team can compensate for a non-existent product,
or team can compensate for a product that will change a million times until you really have something. Because the first thing really that you present to the investors that they know it's going to change. And when you present, especially to angel investors, you don't have a product that is really tested in the market. And when you test the product in the market, whatever idea you have, and you think it's going to be good, you need to throw it out there and see, then kind of hands up and fingers crossed. Okay, let's see what happens.
Okay, so I can tell you a story about our actually first 100,000 euro round. What happened then? So what we did basically that we had it was a product called Sport Account. It was a social media for sports. That was 2014. And what happened was that we managed to we made a PDF. Like, we're going to create the world's first social media for sports, and we're going to be the biggest, in the world. And we started talking to these Finnish sports stars, and the sports stars, they get a lot of offers and stuff, and they know how it works. Everybody wants their money. So what happened was that the sports stars, well, they wanted options. They wanted a little bit more of the company than just equity because they were sports stars. So we were thinking like, shit, what are we going to do? Are we going to give them options? And then our investors back then were saying like, no, don't give them options. Because if you start giving options in the beginning to these guys, then the next sports star that come in will say, why does this guy have so much? I'm bigger star than him. I want even more options. And then you have to give options to like everyone in the company. So they were saying, we want options. And we were in Bilbao back then, watching the World Championship basketball.
And testing our product.
Yeah. So after this call with our investors said, look, you're not going to offer them any options, and you're going to say, Friday at 4 o'clock, they need to say, 5 o'clock, they need to say, yes or no, or they're not investing in this company. And we're like, shit, this is horrible. I'm going to say to these enormous sports stars, I'm going to basically tell them to like, so we sent this mail out on Monday in Bilbao from the hotel room, and then on Tuesday morning, I'm such a neurotic, so I opened up my mail. I was like, no mails yet. Shit. Wednesday, like nothing yet. Should we? Do you think they got the mail? Is it in the outbox, or maybe it's jammed in some spam filters, or should we send them out? Did you get it? You know. Thursday comes, like nothing. It's like shit. And then our investors, they've been around. They were like, it's just a game of chicken, you know. Just call their bluff. You know, they're not serious anyway. And that's just good. If they don't believe in the product, they're not going to invest. It's like, okay, that's easy for you to say. You're rich, not poor. So what happened was that Friday morning, nothing. Like jumping on the airplane from Bilbao to Helsinki. That was, I think it was 10 o'clock. The flight was leaving. We landed at like 4 finish time. And open up mail immediately, nothing. Like, oh my God. We jump in the taxi, and it's like, I think it's 16:45. Call, we're in. Oh, thank you. We won. So that's how horrible that round was for us. But now, there's still.
That was the easiest.
Was that like free investment? No, nothing to get back?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got it was 100,000 and 20%.
20%.
Yeah. So yeah, so they're still in the company, and they reinvested many times. Okay, but it was a hard bargaining. It's easy to laugh now, but it was very close to cry back then. So also Spanish people will know this is from Bernabeu. So this is a memory that we're going to go through in the next presentation about working with the Spanish clubs. And this is the SHA. It's the shareholders agreement. It's a must. You need to have it. And the good thing with the shareholders agreement is that they're fairly easy to get from lawyers. Usually the lawyers, the companies, Bird & Bird, you know, whatever they are, they have a standard template you can use. And usually what they do with startups is that they make it to you for like, I don't know, 1,000 euros, maybe. They'll fix it for you because they think like, okay, I'm gonna give this shareholders agreement for $1,000. Then we have a customer, and during the lifetime of that customer, we're gonna get a lot of money from these guys. So get that done. Do it with probably a bigger company, because the price for doing it with, for example, a big company, Bird & Bird, is probably the same as with a smaller company. So use the big ones because it also gives you kind of validity. You can say like, look, we work with the biggest lawyer company in Finland, or you know, whatever. So that's one thing. It's signaling, but it's also for this relation. Like, you're working with people. And as you know, everybody knows the story of friends who are not friends anymore. And the business kills friends.
Sure.
So yeah, the shareholders agreement is a good way. It's an agreement to basically agree on what happens in certain situations? Like what happens if Alexi or me get hit by a bus? We stop working for the company. Like what happens if somebody offers to buy our company? It regulates all these things because there are different clauses. For example, if now somebody would come to our company and say, look, we want to buy more than 50% of your company. So our shareholders agreement basically then says that if someone does that, offers 50% of our shares, Alexi can say to me, you need to sell, and I must sell my shares. So there are these kind of options that you can do, and you can basically agree on a lot of different things. Also, what happens when investors come in and they want to put the shareholders agreement on the table is that they will, it's something that's called vesting. They will vest your shares. So let's say you own 50% of the company. The investor will say, basically they think that, okay, how can I make sure that you're going to keep working for this company? So what they do is that they vest your shares, which means that they say, look, from day one, you don't own a single share. After 1 year, you own 20%. After 2 years, 40. So that's a 5-year vesting. So you earn basically your shares in 5 years. And that's how the investors make sure that you're going to work for them. And this happens usually in every round, which is horrible. So for us, in the first round, they were saying, you have a 3-year vesting. And we were like, okay, give us the money, please. And then when the new investor comes in, he says, well, okay, so your share has already vested half of the time. No, we're going to put it back to 0 again. So it's going to happen again because they are putting in money, so they want to make sure you stay in the company. And all of these things are regulated in the shareholders agreement. Usually, you don't have so much to say about what's going to be in that shareholders agreement. The investors will tell you what it's going to say. And they're going to say, this, we want this, we want this, we want this, we want this. Take it or leave it. And thank you. And that's one part of like the bad thing with financing is that you're in 99% of the cases going to be swallowing your pride. It's going to feel horrible. So like, shit, I wanted this, but you're never going to get it. Because as I said, these people are not in a hurry. They have 100 pitches a day from different startups. They're going to be like, okay, I don't care. Don't waste my time. Next. So they're always going to have the advantage. So you get used to that you're going to get that. Any questions on the shareholders agreement? No. Then you have what is called the cap table, which was the percentage amounts that the investors in the company have. And this is something that every company needs to have after your round. This is one example of ownership. It shows basically how many percentages the owners have of the company. Yeah, that's it's not that hard. You have total.
Is it inevitable that you have to ask for money all the time? Like when you start a company, you cannot just go for the first round and then don't have to go back. Like in your experience with startups, is it most of them just they have to go back for the second round, third round, fourth round?
Usually, yeah.
Usually, yeah. The thing is that even if you would have a product that's kind of going well and people are buying it or buying your product or service, what you want to do with the investment usually is that you want to grow this business like this. Mm-hmm. So it's also up to you. If you're making revenue, and that's fine for you. Okay, now it's like 200,000 a year revenue and we are growing like 20% a year. You can stay there. But if you want to ramp it up to 2 million, 20 million, 200 million, then you need the investment to make that happen. But it's every time it's up to you. Yeah. There are certain people and companies who want to not go to investors like never. They just want to like.
What's that?
Yeah.
That's one example.
So in this case, like what you have there, does everyone have to have a say in your decision making every time?
That's regulated by the shareholders agreement,
Yeah.
fortunately. And then there are some stuff in Finnish law and usual local law that gives them certain so-called minority rights. But most of these things are in the shareholders agreement. So if me and Alexi, think something, then you can say that, like, if we agree, then we can run it over someone. But what you were saying, the different rounds, Alexi is right. It depends on how big you want to go. But it's a rat race. The capitalist world is horrible, in that way that the competition just never ends. Like even Snapchat raised, like, even after being very, very big with hundreds of millions of users, they still raised like 500 million more, because they know if they don't do it, Facebook is going to do something, or like someone else will do something. So it's just constantly, somebody's just like with a lighter here, and you have to run all the time. WhatsApp did very, very small round, managed to grow enormous, and then got bought by Facebook. But yeah, it's up to you. Very few companies can build a global business with cash flow. Yeah, very, very few. If even it's possible. I don't know. Maybe back in the days. Now it's so easy to copy, a lot like what Instagram did with Snapchat. Like just copying. Yeah. So there are two things in valuation. It's called pre and post. The pre-money valuation is what your company is worth before you get the investment round. So let's take an example from our first round again. We said for 100,000 euros you can get 20% of the company, which means that our post money, which is when we get the money is 500,000. The pre-money is obviously then 500,000 minus the investment, 400,000. So our pre-money is actually derived from what it's worth after the money is in the account. Because the only difference between the company, between these phases, is that you have money in your bank account.
So basically the valuation, you make it up. So if you don't have a business, if you don't have a revenue and a kind of classical business, then it's impossible to say that, hey, this is the valuation. If you sell shoes, then you can take the revenue from your past year and like double it, and there's your valuation, and or quadruple it. It already depends on the business. But that's kind of the valuation. But when you're doing something digital and you have a big vision and you have something that is really unique and you can really sell it to the investors, then it's kind of up to you. Okay, how do we value this? And does our valuation, is it in some kind of alignment of what these guys are thinking? And usually you might say that, okay, the valuation is 3 million, and then they say, no, it's 2, and then you go to 2.5, or whatever. But there is no kind of equation for calculating the valuation that is kind of, okay, this is fixed.
Yeah. So usually when you do the first round, I would say the span of your valuation is, you just come up with a figure, but that figure always ends up somewhere around 300,000 euros and 700,000. That's what you should ask. You can go for it. You can say like, okay, my company's worth 1 million, and they're going to be like, no, and it's worth 500. And nobody is right and nobody is wrong. But your company is valued what someone is prepared to pay for it in the end. So when you go for that first round, I would say 300,000 to 500,000 is kind of a safe zone to be in, depending on what stage. But you feel very early that you have no product or anything. I think that's usually the case in the Nordics at least. So the valuation in the beginning is really like whatever you decide that somebody decides to.
And it's really much related to the business you are in. If you're here starting in Finland, that's probably the span of the valuation. When you go to US, then you can usually kind of put it tenfold.
Yeah.
That's just how it goes.
So like what happened for us, we have been saying sometimes that, okay, our valuation is 5 million. And then the investors are like, it's 3. Here is the money. If you agree to 3, you'll get my money. If not, bye-bye. And then you're like, well, the valuation is 3.
Yeah, you probably heard me wrong.
But don't you have to have like a genuine answer to give that value? Because from the watching that Shark Tank all the time, people are pitching. Every time the investors go like, how did you come up with that figure? Explain, like what's your background? Yes. So it's kind of, you really have to defend yourself how you came up with that figure.
Yeah.
When you're in the millions, yes.
Yeah.
When you're over $1 million valuation, then you have to do it. But when you're in the first round, usually it's between 300 to 700, and you don't have to motivate it that much. You can do some calculations, and sometimes they just ask to kind of make you that you understand your business. They just want to check, like, is it reasonable? But once you hit over $1 million, then they want to see, like, then you can say, okay, I have 5 customers. They're going to sign a contract next year, next month. That's going to be worth this. That's why we think it's worth this much. So once you get into bigger figures, you need to start having some facts in your back pocket. But when you don't have anything, they understand that it's going to be low. Then we come to timing. This is really important if you are getting indications that your company is going to do well. So this is a picture like after we closed our second round in 2015 for this previous company, and this was 5 minutes before the deadline. So this is something that is really important, and it relates to the fear of missing out. You know, what everyone hates is that somebody can say, like, I wanted this guy to invest, but he didn't, and now he could have been a millionaire. You know, and nobody wants to be that guy. Like, shit, I missed out on Abba, or, you know, on Apple, or, you know. So people, this is psychology. As Alex said, people are people. And once they start being afraid that your idea is going to be the biggest in the world, and they said no, they don't want to feel that in their heads. They don't want to live with that. They don't want to cry at home, like, I could have been even richer, you know, wiping tears with dollars, you know.
But you never know. You never know.
So yeah, so we said, look, we're going to launch it on the 11th, but before we launch it, we're going to close the round. And, you know, they don't like this. They're like, no. We want to see the data before we invest. We want to see what happens when you are alive. But we said, you're not going to see it before you invest, so you have a choice. You need to invest and then see if you're lucky or not.
So again, chicken race.
Chicken race again, number 2. It's the second round for the same stuff. So we started playing hardball again. And we said, look, it's 12 o'clock Friday night. If you miss this out, you're going to miss out on the world's biggest product. And, you know, we started waiting, and the same thing happens again, like, shit. Because if all the investors would have said, no, we're going to wait, then we wouldn't have a chance. We would say, shit, then we don't have any money anymore. So we were lucky. They all invested, and we got some more money. And 23.55, and this picture is actually on Instagram. It's like, phew, last minute again. So we did it pre-launch, and you know what happened when we launched it? Our servers went down.
So the CTO, we were launching in a sports bar, and there were a lot of people and media around, and everything breaks down. Our CTO is there with beer, and the next to him, and what the fuck is happening here? But yeah. It worked out.
So I would say on that Tuesday morning, if you would say, would you invest? They would be like, target. So yeah, so that's what happens. So yeah, make sure the timing is really important, and the fear of missing out is called FOMO. They use it all the time, and it doesn't have to be with the product and stuff. It can be also that you just create a hype that just everybody wants to be in your product. It can be if you get a very famous investor to invest in your company, then you go to others, say like, okay, this guy is in. They're gonna be like, oh, why is he in? Like, yeah, he's done some good stuff.
For example, as we and Jari Olaskainen, because everybody knows the Goldfinger, and then we were okay. He's investing. We made a press release about that and told about it in every all social medias and so on. So then the investors were like, okay, what is this again? Like this guy, Goldfinger is investing.
One guy. He's a one guy. You know.
Take a
and
close look.
That's crazy.
So it's all of this is also how you relate everything to your PR and marketing, and it's not, these are not different things, like the business development, marketing, research and development, and then financing, and all intertwines.
Yeah. So yeah, fear of missing out and timing is really important. If you can manage to leverage that, do it. Use whatever you can, even if it's hype, even if it's product. But if you know, this is actually really important, if you know that your product is going to be launched in 2 months, make sure you have the financing before that. Because they are not in a hurry, they're gonna wait. So that's important. So we still do strategic kind of decisions on like, when should we fundraise? Like, are we going live in some market? Like, then we should not fundraise after that, we should do it before that. So we're still working from these kind of ideas.
So if I understand, is it like for each product you are putting out, you need investors?
No. It depends. It depends. Yeah. So usually, like, we are one product company.
Investor is for the company, not for the product.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
usually,
exactly.
Yeah, but usually in our case, the product is the company and the company is the product.
Yeah.
So it really depends.
And then a little bit more of complexity stuff. This is about the bus stuff again, you know. This is something we did in actually the last round, and this is a little bit more complex. Maybe if you want to read it, there is a lot of good articles about it in the net. So what this basically is that instead of closing a round where you say you get 20% of the company and you give me 100,000. So what you do is that you collect debt, you loan, you borrow money from people, and you say basically like this. We did it like this because we had a hard time finding investors, so we had to start doing this. We needed money, so we went to investors and we said, okay, guys. Our product is going to be nice, it's going to be big, but we haven't found the right big investor that can put in like $500,000 yet. So if you borrow us money now, you will get to buy the shares in the next round a lot cheaper than that round. So you get it cheaper. That's called the conversion discount. You'll get it cheaper. So what they're thinking that, okay, if I take a little bit more risk now, I get cheaper shares when somebody else invests. So we ended up doing something that was with cap valuation. So what I said to investors was that, look, if you now give us 50,000 in loans, I will make sure that when the investment round happens, the valuation of the company will only be 800,000 for you. But for the new investors, it can be 10 million. And you will get so much cheaper shares than everybody else. And they're like, okay, so if your company is valued at 1 billion, I can still buy it for only 800,000. Yes. Okay, let's do it. And what you can do is basically you collect financing while you're waiting for the Goldfinger. You know, and it's very nice to do because then also when you find that Goldfinger, you can say, look, I already have 10 people who have borrowed me money that's going to transform their shares in the next round. So it kind of validates your business because other people believe in it. When you do the regular fundraising, usually everyone is asking, who else is here? Everybody always asks. It's psychology. Like, did he invest? No? Okay, so who's the first investor? And everybody's asking that. So when you have this convertible debt note, you already have the investors that already put the money in the company. So it's a good way. And this is becoming very, very, very common And a lot of companies are doing it at the moment, especially in Finland as well. So they're just running around borrowing people. And if you don't get the money, the problem is you have to pay it back. That's the problem. But since you're a startup, if you can't pay it back, well, you're bankrupt. And it's a company, so you're not losing anything anyway. You know, it's the company that goes that you might get a bad reputation.
Yeah, and especially in this small market, and I'd say in whatever market, that's your reputation is kind of it's the only thing that you have that stays with you. So keep really good care of your reputation. Like meet everybody, be a good guy, like do what you promise, even if you fuck up, kind of try to make it up somehow. Like just act as a good guy or person would act. Like
Don't run away.
Yeah, don't run away. Because like if you burn the bridges behind you,
It's
like
this.
yeah, that's it. You will not get any more investments from anyone.
Yeah, a good tip on that, because then you're gonna feel like this many times when people are gonna just push you down. Like, never write anything negative in mails. Always say negative stuff on the phone, and only write positive things by mail. The internet never forgets. So that's a good tip. So never write negative emails. I've done it, and I'm like, shit, I can't make it undone. You know, but nowadays, always only positive, and always negative, like face to face.
Yes.
Mile. That's a good tip. And the final thing that I think we talked about a lot is just a little bit more startup jargon. It's the MVP, or maybe Alex, you can talk about MVPs.
So basically what we always suggest to all startups is that, yeah, you might have a good idea and you might just have like 10 slides on a PDF to present it to somebody. But when you have an MVP, when you have, if it's a technological product that is going to be on all devices, will they be mobile devices or web devices or smart TVs or whatever, have something that looks like the product that is really live, that works. It can be a total fake. It can be just like pretty screenshots that react when you tap somewhere. That kind of shows like you are kind of showing something to dummies. Think that, okay, there is a retarded 2-year-old kid to whom I'm trying to present this thing. And then you're kind of, okay, this is how it works. This is the product. Because in your head, everything that you say makes sense and it's clear. But then you are going to somebody who sees like 100 pitches a day, and they are kind of, what the fuck was that? That cannot happen. Kind of the more simple and real you can make something to look like, the better it is.
So for example, what we did when we were in Slush for the first time with our product, and the product was kind of like Instagram, but like with videos.
Yeah, we're talking about Spotagram. That was originally Spotagram until Instagram like sent us 1,500 pages of lawsuit, like why you can't have name Spotagram.
They own the gram thing, so we were laughing. We had this big pile in the office, like Instagram. But yeah, we gave up. They won. Fucking Zuckerberg. So what we did, basically that we recorded videos in the office, then we put them inside this screenshot. Basically,
let's go a little bit back, because like the Spotagram is like Instagram, but you cannot write any comments. You can only record short videos. So it's face-to-face communication. And that's why what we make, the MVP was kind of, okay, it looks like this, it looks like it's working, but we were demoing, kind of making a video. It looks like that you're recording the video. But no, we pre-recorded the videos and repeated the things that we did. So basically it looked like we totally faked that we have a product that works.
So in one of the videos that we uploaded, I was in the office, I was spinning like this. So every time we presented, I had to spin to make it look like real.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Ooh, this is really good."
And then, like, of course, to get into those investors in Slush, and that's a big event. It's a show nowadays. we kind of sneaked ourselves into the investor area. We didn't have any meetings with investors.
Really?
We didn't have the access there. We sneaked ourselves in there and then went to, okay, investor, have you seen this? And did these presentations. You just need to jump in there to the deep side and find the ways to do what you need to do, to talk to investors, to make a product, to find people to work with you or whatever. You just need to find the ways, and that's about the team. You need to have persistence, you need to have the inspiration and the fire that drives you to do something. If you don't have that, you're kind of, okay, I cannot get to the investors because they are not answering my emails, can I? Okay.
Then you go knock their doors, goddamn.
Yeah, that's right. You need to kind of hack into their mobile phones, and when they're ordering a pizza, you dress up as a pizza guy and go there and show your product or whatever. It doesn't matter. You need to find the ways to show or do what you need to do.
Exactly. So, most of all, it's important to remember to have fun. We try to have fun, and this picture pissed off the Olympic Committee in Finland. We did it. This is photoshopped, the rings, and of course I'm not that skillful. but so we made a press release where we had to sign a deal with the Olympic Committee in Finland, and Alexi made this this Photoshop plan, and we sent it as a press release, like, yeah, we signed the Olympic Committee. I remember I was like, yes, we signed the deal, and I went to Berlin to holiday, and I watched my phone, and it's like a lot of missed calls. I'm like, who's calling this much? Like, hello? He's like, this is the fucking CEO of the Olympic Committee. Take that fucking press release away. You can't use the Olympic rings with fucking cigar smoke. So we have to take it away, but we can show it now. Yeah, so remember, it's all about having fun as well.
Yeah, that's important. If you don't like what you're doing, don't do it. It doesn't make any sense, and it's not going to work.
Yeah, startup life is kind of the best thing that you can do and the worst thing that you can do. It's a nice yin-yang that kind of develops a lot of character and a lot of cuss words and swearing and crying and all sorts. But then you get the investment deal or something and you're like, yeah. So it's a roller coaster. Yeah, that's it for the financing stuff.
Any questions? Comments, whatever.
In the next session, we'll talk about our Spanish adventures and how we hired the head of new media for Real Madrid, how we started working with a lot of Spanish teams, how we got the whole fans of Malaga Stadium La Rosaleda to say "Vamos Malaga," and, a lot of other crazy things that we did in Spain.
But that's kind of in a context of really what is business development. Kind of okay, what is it, and what are kind of the parts you need to take in consideration, and also with this story we want to tell kind of okay what we have done and how. So it's not just this whatever jargon about business. It's real case, real story about us and where we are, where we are now.
And that kind of when I said that our servers failed and it didn't work out in Finland that well, that was what led us to Spain. We didn't do well in Finland, and so kind of that couple of weeks after that, when we were sitting in the office like we closed around, what happened after those 2 weeks was this crazy kind of business development in Spain. So like as a teaser, I can say that we took a plane to Barcelona. We were there on the 7th of June 2015 when they won the treble. They won Champions League and La Liga and everything. It was a big party in the city. And on Monday, we had managed to actually get a meeting with FC Barcelona. So we went to the offices and they were like very happy, of course. And then we went to Madrid and we met with this guy from Real Madrid and we said, we want to hire you, basically.
And then we went to Atletico.
Then we met Atletico de Madrid, and all of a sudden we were like standing in the middle of Madrid and like, what the hell is going on? And then this long adventure started, and that kind of is the business development side. Next story. Yeah.
When you have this kind of company, how much people are working on the backstage?
Well,
Yeah.
Because in the front stage, I think you are.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And on the backstage,
We had 13 in that previous company.
okay.
Now currently we're 9.
And it also depends on how you count.
Yeah.
Because then there's like, of course, there's us. Our responsibility is the business development and sales, and kind of innovating new things. Because we are talking with the clients and finding out what they need and what they want, or what they even don't know yet that they need and what. And we kind of translate that to something real. So there in the middle, we need to have kind of the head of product who really takes these insane ideas that we have and translates them kind of to the language that the coders understand, and the coders do their thing, and then we have people who help us with the sales, then we have people who help us with testing or research, and there's a lot of kind of people around, but not all of them are working for our company as employees. Some are contractors, some are consultants that we have like, yeah, and there's so.
But we try to avoid that. Of course, we want to work in-house. That's probably the smartest
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, in-house, especially for everything that is really the core, related to the core business. But then when we are talking about like testing our application with 100,000 different Android devices, that's not our expertise.
So currently we have 4 people in Helsinki. It's me and Alexi, and then we have iOS, and then we have a head of product. Then we have Android and backend development in Slovakia, but they are in-house, but they just moved back home for a while. And then we have sales in Singapore, and he takes care of Malaysia, Singapore, and these countries. I'm going again now. We're working with some of the biggest medias in Singapore and Malaysia. I'm flying on Saturday again. Then we have a guy in Sitges, in Catalonia, close to Barca. And he's doing the sales for the Latin American, South American market and stuff. And soon you'll know what the hell he's selling.
So how is the process to find these people?
We've been lucky. Yeah, the more you work, the more you meet people, and the more. So this is what Alex is.
It's not, if I understand, it's not like development company online that you are working with.
Going back a bit. No, because if I go back a bit, getting the right people is probably the hardest thing that we're going to probably mention. That it's super hard to find like the right people. So, but when we started in 2012, we were like, what are we going to do? We don't know anyone who does anything. And it started bit by bit by bit. And like what I would propose to everyone, which we do usually, is that we say yes to everything. If somebody says, do you want to go for a coffee? We say yes. You know, we go to coffee with people who are working as a nurses or in daycare or truck drivers. They contact me on LinkedIn and they say, look, I have an idea. And then you meet everyone, because there's a lot of people that are so busy, like I'm so busy, my calendar is full for 2 years ahead. You're like, fuck off, it's not. Then you say, do you eat? And they're like, what? Do you eat? Yes. Okay. Where are you going to eat lunch? I'm going to go sit next to you and I'm going to buy you lunch, and we're going to talk. So you always take the little time to meet with people, and the more you meet with people, the more, if you're nice to them and stuff, they will remember you. And so basically the guy who works for us in Barcelona, he came to us through a company that was doing video production for our ads. Because we were talking like, yeah, we've been working in Spain and stuff. And the video production company says, well, you're nice guys. I know this guy in Sitges that is doing sales. Okay, let's meet him. Then Alexi went and met him, and now he's getting us a lot of deals. The guy in Singapore, we met him, he proposed to meet up in a startup conference like 4 years ago. He was like, what, do you want to go to Asia? We're like, no, we're not going to Asia. But I have this company in Asia, so I work with Asian companies. And now, 4 years later, I contact him, I'm like, we're actually thinking about Asia. Great, let's do it. and you know, so this is just you meet with people, and all of a sudden you have a network of like a lot of people.
There was an interesting story about how we found our CTO. He's a really kind of core person in the tech company. Was that first what we did that we put in. No, they're telling them not. Don't tell them. Basically, what we did, there's a työvoimatoimisto. What is it? Älä nyt selitä. Well, anyway, there's this governmental institute that delivers people who are unemployed to companies that want to work, find people to work for them. And it's free to put an ad there. So we did it. Hey, we're looking for this kind of person. And how we wrote that article or kind of ad was that they published it, but then the next day they called us, or we took it away. You need to change this wording because we want to be kind of politically correct. And it was, for us, it was politically correct from our perspective. But somehow, some people didn't think so. Okay, and all of a sudden, we told about that to Tommy's friend, who's working in Nelonen. That's media. They have, of course, like TV channels and website and news channels and so on. And this guy wrote about that. Okay, this startup's job application ad was taken away because of this. And it went viral. So that story, when they were telling, okay, what were the words or things?
So basically, the words were like, we're looking for someone who can drink beer and party with international superstars and these kind of crazy things that were totally like this. Because we were looking. The reason we wrote it like this was that we wanted to get exactly the right person.
It was a filter.
Yeah, it was a filter. Because if you get 100 applications and you're a startup, you know how much time it's going to take when you get all these people from India or Pakistan who just sends to everyone. And you have to scan it if it's good. So we put these kind of things in little bit like programming, like a little bit of this guy attitude, because we know most backend guys are guys still. So we did these kind of party with stars and drink beer and and that became a huge scandal. And then our CTO saw that viral campaign, right?
Yeah. And it's working. So it worked perfectly. We got a lot of coverage with our thing for free and found the right guy. So good. And also we got the reputation that we are not maybe the default guys. And that's what we wanted. Like, okay, the people who want to work for us need to kind of be with us. And they need to listen to our shitty humor and politically really non kind of okay stuff and so
yeah, not cool jokes. But the thing is, I've been saying this in different seminars as well. Like, it's important point to remember. Like, I know we're in a diversity forum right now, and that is in a big scale. It is important, but when you're a startup, there are certain stuff you just can't ignore. And the thing is, let's say it's me and Alex, and we're hiring a guy or a girl, or we're hiring a person. It's going to be, in the office that we had back then, 12 square meters, it's going to be 33% of the company is going to be this person. The next person is going to be 25%. And you're going to sit with these people for 12 hours a day in a 10 square meter office. You want to get along. You want to hire someone that's like you. You want to hire someone that laughs with you at the same stuff. You don't want to hire the opposite of you. And I think that applies up to maybe 10 people. Then you still have a pretty small dynamic. After that, I think it's important to start thinking about different kind of diversity stuff. But in the beginning, it's really, it's counterproductive to think diversity for the first hires. It might be very controversial to say that, but like still, you need to hire people that you come along with. You don't want to hire, if you like to laugh at, you like to walk watched Walking Dead, you don't want to hire the, you know, I don't know, Game of Thrones guy. I don't know, they're probably the same. You don't want to have the opposites. You can do it later phase to get more of a nice like mixed company. But in the beginning, hire people that you like, and that's important in hiring. The skill set is one thing. It has to be good, but you're going to be like hanging
The
out.
thing is that your kind of attitude or your chemistry, that cannot be learned. More coding skills or whatever skills, they can be learned. But if the baseline is not fitting your company, that's kind of okay. Make the baseline good so everybody gets along and they laugh at the same jokes and you can really be yourself in the company. You don't want to go to the office and think, okay, what can I say today? How do I need to behave and how do I need to smile and what I need to wear? So that's not where you want to focus, especially when you're startup at early stage.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're just babbling on.
Yeah.
So yeah, should we have a little break or?
It's 5 minutes now. Do you guys want to wrap up? Otherwise, I will.
Yeah, we're gonna continue. So yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
But then, hey everybody! As you all know, those workshops are for free, and we're really glad to have those beautiful people here to teach us a bit of new things. So please give back and fill out this feedback forms so that we can constantly improve what we're doing. So we have a couple of pens here and feedback forms. You have about 20 minutes until the next workshop starts, so that should give you plenty of time to fill out. Anybody needing a pen? You all have pens. Perfect. Thank you. And thanks a lot for the first workshop.
No worries.
Yeah, give it a hand of applause. Don't worry. Yeah, of course.